envelope. Open up that envelope. I want to make sure you have what you need. You should have 3 gray boxes. 3 gray boxes, paper clips together. Put those 3 gray boxes on the left side of your desk. Just lay them in a row. 1, 2, 3. And then you should also have 3 short paragraph passages. The largest one is this size, and the other 2 are a little bit smaller. Lay those 3 on the right side of your desk. Lay those 3 on the right side of your desk. Okay, this is a brief review of what we learned yesterday. So yesterday, you learned the 3 rhetorical devices, the appeals, logos, ethos, pathos. So you have 3 paragraphs. I want you to read all 3 of them. They're all excerpts from famous speeches. They're all excerpts from famous speeches. When you're done reading them, I want you to decide which of the 3 persuasive appeals is most dominant in this paragraph, and then line it up next to the gray box that matches that. So you have a gray box that says logical appeals, you have a gray box that says pathos, and you have one that says ethos. So match up the speech excerpt with the appeal that's most dominant in it. And then if you'll notice on the gray box, it gives you bullet points that explains to you the definition of that appeal and some tips to help you. Okay. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that. So read and then sort them, and then we'll discuss it together. If you're really stuck on one, raise your hand and I'll come to you, but I'll want to see what you can do independently. So.
Can one box go to like can the gray box be used on 2 things, or is it just one? Like they match up to each other?
That's a good question. So he said, can the gray box be used on one? So each one of those speeches has a different dominant one. So one's dominantly has dominant emotional appeals, one has dominant ethical appeals, and one has dominant logical appeals. So figure out which one has the dominant logical, which one has the dominant pathos, which one has the dominant ethical. But you're right, they're going to, some of them could fit into 2, so just figure out which one was the most dominant in this one. So yes, it has ethical, but is this more dominant? And vice versa. Okay, 5 minutes, go. And if you finish and want me to verify that you were correct, I will. First 2 I've checked were correct. Starting to finish up. So let's start with the George W. Bush one. The George W. Bush one. Sarah Bryant, the George W. Bush speech. Does it primarily have ethos
ethos.
Say it again.
Ethos.
Not ethos. Somebody help him out. Santana. Logos. Tell us why you think it was logos.
Because it had like facts and like research.
Good. It had facts, research, statistics, all of the elements that authors use to create logical appeals were included in that speech. How about the very last one? The very last one. The one by Mrs. King. Yes. Ethos. Good. Tell me how you know it's ethos.
Well, basically, because she was just there during the time period, so she has to know what she's like.
Okay, so she was alive with that woman during the time period. Good. And did they have a relationship? Yes. How do we know that they had a relationship? Cameron?
Because it talks about, she said that she was the sister of Martin Luther King's sister, and how they used to call each other, send each other flowers, and be somewhere in the world.
Good. So she establishes, I have a close relationship with this woman, and therefore I'm trustworthy. You can trust me as I give this speech at her funeral. So what we're going to do the next couple days is we're going to analyze each of these three speeches, and we're going to analyze the appeals used in each. Today we're going to focus on the George W. Bush one. So here's what I want you to do. Take your three gray boxes, paperclip them back together. Take your three speeches, paperclip them back together. Put both back into the envelope. Pass your envelopes all the way to the middle. Once you have everyone's beside you, pass them up. And then Reagan, grab Vince and hand me the whole stack. You can just put them right here, Reagan. Okay, while you wrap that up, let's review what we learned yesterday. What are rhetorical appeals? What are rhetorical appeals? Eliza. Persuasive strategies. Good. Rhetorical appeals are persuasive strategies. And what are the three rhetorical appeals?
Pathos, ethos, and logos.
Good. Pathos, ethos, and logos. When you look at, let's start with pathos. What does the speaker appeal to when they use pathos? What are they appealing to, Sam?
Your emotions.
Good. They appeal to your emotions. And what are some of the methods they use to appeal to your emotions, Emily? Yes, they do evoke your emotions. How do they evoke your emotions? What do they use, Eliza? They can use personal anecdotes, or yes, if it's commercial, you can use staff music. Good, strong connotative diction. So usually they use strong connotative diction or personal anecdotes to evoke your emotions, like Emily said. Good, and then we had logos. What does the speaker appeal to when they use logos? Brandon? Good, your sense of logic. And what methods do they use to appeal to your sense of logic, Laisha? Facts, statistics, research, experts say. Good. All of those things, they appeal to your common sense. They want you to read their argument and think, this is logical and reasonable, and that's why I can agree with it, because I have common sense. Ethos, what is the author trying to appeal to in ethos? Alex?
Trying to establish trust and trustworthy.
Good. They're trying to establish trust. They're trying to get you to believe that you can trust what they're saying because of who they are and the experiences they've had. What do they use to establish trust? What methods do they use to create an ethical appeal?
Like reasons why they qualify for that.
Good. They explain the reasons, their qualifications. Why am I qualified? Good. Sam?
Shows how they're credible.
Yes, they show you how they're credible. So, for example, in that little speech you just read, she tells you all the reasons she's credible by establishing, hey, I had a really close relationship with this woman. Let me explain to you how, so that you trust that she has the authority to speak at her funeral. Very good. Okay, let's look at our target for today. So, yesterday we learned these three appeals and we practiced them just a little bit. Emotional, logical, and ethical appeals. Today, you're going to do that a little bit more. You're going to show that you understand emotional, logical, and ethical appeals, and you just did with your bell ringer as well. So now we're going to move into analysis. We're going to analyze how rhetorical devices create persuasive appeals. Again, what are rhetorical devices?
Persuasive appeals.
Good. So we're going to analyze how persuasive strategies create persuasive appeals. Those three appeals above. Then at the very end of class, you're going to write a paragraph using textual evidence to show me that you understand the dominant appeal in George W. Bush's speech. Okay. So let's argue that there's ethos present in a speech as well? Yes, you could, and we're going to talk about that. So a good speech often has ethos, pathos, and logos, or two of the three, but one might stand out as dominant over the other ones. So we just established that the one that stands out dominant in this one is pathos, but we're going to look and see, is there also ethos and logos? Is ethos strong in the speech? Is logos strong in the speech? And then after that, we're going to analyze these, specifically the emotional appeals that he includes. So let's listen to an audio. Let me turn it up a little bit so you can hear it. So follow along on your paper. That speech is right there on the front page. We have seen, or I'm sorry, in the normal course of events, that's where it starts.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President pro tempore, members of Congress, and fellow Americans. In the normal course of events, the President has come to this chamber to report on the State of the Union. Tonight, no such report is needed. It has already been delivered by the American people. We have seen it in the courage of passengers who rushed terrorists to save others on the ground. Passengers like an exceptional man named Todd Beamer. And would you please help me welcome his wife, Lisa Beamer, here tonight. We have seen the state of our union in the endurance of rescuers working past exhaustion. We've seen the unfurling of flags, the lighting of candles, the giving of blood, the saying of prayers in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. We have seen the decency of a loving and giving people who have made the grief of strangers their own. My fellow citizens, for the last 9 days, the entire world has seen for itself the state of our union, and it is strong.
That woman whose husband lost her life saving others during 9/11, and we get the applause at the very end of that excerpt when he says the union is strong. Is it a short applause? No. So the length of the applause should also have an impact on you. That was a really long applause for her and at the very end. Okay. So you miss those elements when you just read it. So it's important, if you can, to listen to it as well. Kind of put you in the moment so you can experience it the way people experience it. So let's look at some questions. Let's make sure we're understanding this fully. So the first thing, what is President Bush's purpose in this speech? Why is he giving this speech? Alex.
Let people know what some people did to help others in that way.
Okay, why would he want them to know what some people did? What impact would that have on you as a citizen? So this is post 9/11. 9/11 just happened. What's the state of the United States? Where are we? Brandon?
Kind of chaos.
Okay, chaos? Yes.
Like depression.
Depressed? Yes. James?
Fear that from another attack.
Okay, fearful? Good. Those are all good words. wife, he gives us the speech because what's he trying to do? Yes, show us that we're still strong, because how does that make you feel when he says that? Yeah, not afraid, so it gets rid of some of your fear. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of gives you a sense of unity. We can come together. Lexi? Yes, it's relaxing, it's comforting. So he gives a speech to comfort the grieving American people. That's his purpose in doing so. Who's the primary audience? Let's see if you caught that. Who hears this speech? Cameron?
I would either say the American people and everyone who's like grieving with America, or possibly, and he's like kind of thanking the people who tried to stop them and the families of the survivors.
That's close. So let me explain that a little better. Primary is like the immediate audience. Who's physically present? Like who's there when he's giving the speech? Obviously it was recorded and shared with people on the news and things like that, but who is actually sitting in that room, Sarah? Okay, good. Who's the chamber? Tell me what that means. Sam, you're a history buff. Do you know who the chamber is referring to? Take a guess. Brandon? Not Senate, close. It's the Congress, okay. So he's speaking directly to Congress. That's who's physically there. But then Cameron just answered my second question. Who's listening? The nation's listening. Millions of people listen to this on the news and on TV. Good. So just keep that in mind, the audience. So he's trying to comfort a grieving nation. So why is President Bush a credible speaker in this situation? Somebody I haven't heard from today. Seth.
He's the president.
Right, he's the president of the United States. So does he need to go on in his speech and tell you why you should trust him? No, you voted for him. He's the president. So because he's the president, ethos is definitely there. He has the authority to speak on this topic. But again, it's not the primary, the dominant appeal in it. Okay? So let's look at, does he include logos? What information in this speech can we consider factual? Like it's not an opinion, it's just straight up truth. Sarah?
The fact that Todd Beamer and he receives a lot of
Yes. So the story of Todd Beamer, that's a true story. Seth?
The unfurling of flags, the lighting of candles, the giving of blood, and the saying of prayer.
Okay, it's good. So people really did say prayers, people really did give blood, things like that. But is there a lot of statistics, facts, research in this? No. So there are factual elements, okay? There's information in here that is true, but that wasn't his tactic. He wasn't trying to comfort you with logic. Okay. So let's talk about then the emotional appeals. I'm going to give you an expo marker, and I want you to draw a T-chart. On your T-chart, on the left side, do positive connotations. Positive connotations. On the right side, do negative connotations. And let's see if this passage includes strong connotative language. So I'm going to have you do this with people sitting around you. You can write on the passage if that helps you, but I want you to fill in your T-chart what words in this passage, what emotional words are in there. There's going to be words that have really positive feelings associated with them, and there's going to be words that have really negative feelings associated with them. So at a voice level 1 with the people next to you, look at that passage together and fill in the chart. No, you need to. Sam asked me a question. Do you need to include neutral? No, there's lots of neutral words in there, but we want to see, we want to look specifically at the words with strong connotations, strong positive and strong negative. Yes. It doesn't matter. It's just,
You gave us an extra.
oh, sorry. So talk to the person next to you. You can just shout them out. Say like, hey, did you get courage? I got courage. Did you see save? Yes. What'd you say? Yeah. You can do short phrases. list, glance at the person next to you, see if they had something that you missed. What's your weirdest experience ever? Okay, so I'm looking at your lists. Those of you who are farther along, are there more positive or are there more negative?
Positive.
Why? Why do you think that is? Emily. Good. He's trying to make them feel hopeful. He wants them to feel safe and secure. So he's going to use words that have strong, positive, emotional connotations to achieve that purpose. Good. Why does he use strong and negative connotations? Will?
I'm trying to like reassure people, let them know that it's okay. There's no problem.
Good. He's trying to reassure people. So he's saying, yes, we're experiencing grief. Like he's being realistic. He's acknowledging the reality of the situation. Yes, we're experiencing grief, but we're still strong. Okay. Let's talk about some of the words. Let's talk about negative. Just shout them out. Terrorist. Exhaustion. Grief. Good. Any other ones? Okay. Blood. You could argue that. How about positive? Courage. Save.
Loving.
Endurance.
Okay. Those are good.
Loving.
I hear courage. I hear save. I hear endurance. I hear exceptional. Loving, giving, strong, welcome, decency. Did I say love? Rescuers. Good. So overwhelmingly, he uses more positive than negative connotations, and the positive ones he uses are super positive. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to pass around a paper towel. You share it with the person next to you. Wipe that off, and then I want you to have a piece of paper, the packet, and a pencil on your desk. Let's try and get ready for that. We'll take 2 minutes. I'm running out of paper towels.
Want me to collect these?
Share it with people behind you. So use that paper towel and then pass it behind you. Sorry, y'all. I'm running out of paper towels. Yes, sir. Can you sharpen your pencil? Yes, sir. Oh, there's paper towels. Santana, will you grab those paper towels and pass them to the back of the rows? Give everybody this. I mean, Sakina, I'm sorry. Like, why is she staring at me like that? It's okay. Don't worry about spraying them. I can take care of spraying them. Yeah.
You know, only one per like pair, like two per one.
Sarah, will you go collect markers? Sarah, can you come around and get your expo marker? Make sure my expo marker ends up in that box.
I gave you a Chevy. Oh. It's video safety.
Okay, you need a pencil and you need your packet. Make sure you have both. Pencil and packet. Give Sarah your markers. Make sure you're taking folded Okay, so to conclude that activity, here's what I want you to remember. All 3 of those appeals were used in the speech, but emotional appeals were the most dominant, the most prevalent in that one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look specifically at the emotional appeals. So look down here where it says Activity 1. It says the following diagram demonstrates how one image in the passage creates an emotional appeal which supports the speaker's purpose. Let's talk about the purpose again. What's he trying to do by giving this speech? Comfort.
Hope.
Comfort who? A grieving people. Good. He's trying to comfort a grieving and shocked nation. Good. So use the diagram below to comment on the emotional appeal of the phrase giving blood. So let's look at the example. I'm going to walk you through his example. We'll do the giving blood one together, and then you'll do one more independently and see if you're starting to grasp this. So the speaker uses lighting of candles. That's an image. You can picture that in your head. Lighting of candles to make a connection with the reader or listener. Before you look at the association, I know the answer's on there. You just tell me, what do you associate with candles? What do we associate with candles, Brandon? Good. Trying to light up mood, lighten like a dark place. Good. Eliza? Serenity. Good. It's calming. When we light candles, you like make yourself a little bubble bath like candles. It's supposed to have a calming effect on you. Trevor?
Eerie.
Say it again.
Eerie.
Hearing?
Eerie.
Eerie? What do you mean? Explain that.
Like, it kind of makes the place more,
So if I was in a dark room and I was freaked out and scared, would lighting a candle scare me more, or would it bring me comfort? Okay, good. So we tend to associate lighting candles with comfort. When do we light candles? So when we're trying to take a relaxing bubble bath. What else? Caitlin? Birthdays. Good. You light your birthday candles. Good. Jaden? Praise. Good. When you're praising, yeah, at church during the Christmas Eve service, a lot of times they light candles and you walk down the aisle with them. Yes. Funerals. Good. Thank you. Funerals. You light candles at funerals in memory of the person you lost. Good. So if you look here, it says association. When you think of lighted candles, it says the audience may think of love and security. Why? Because candles are lit for birthday celebrations, ceremonies, religious ceremonies, ones like Christmas Eve and funerals, okay, and weddings. So you light them for weddings as well. So then it asks you in the last box, what's that phrase suggest? The phrase suggests a banishment of darkness. What's banishment mean? Getting rid of the darkness. Okay, getting rid of the darkness. When you're a little kid and you're scared of the dark, you want what?
Flashlight.
A light. Okay, you crave light. Okay, so we associate lighting candles with a banishment of darkness and evil. We associate darkness with evil and light with good. So banishing of darkness and evil, and it creates comfort and safety for us. Candles create comfort and safety for us. Do you see how we did that? Okay, flip to the next one. This one's not done for us, but we're going to look at the appeal giving of blood. So where it says text, go ahead and put giving of blood. Giving of blood. Okay, just like when we make our connotation charts, when we're looking at our vocabulary words, and some of us put words in the neutral category, whereas other of us put them in a negative category because there's no specific right answer. That's true for this too. So Michaela might say something totally different than Corwin, and that's okay. So it's your associations. So let's think about this. What do we associate giving blood with? Let's talk about what we associate giving blood with. Morgan.
First aid.
Okay, good. First aid, so specifically, like, when do you go give blood? You line up and give blood during a blood drive, okay? So associations, we think of giving blood during a blood drive. Go ahead and write that down. The audience may think of giving blood during a blood drive, and I know we have more. Eliza, what are you thinking? Okay, sacrifice. Give me, why do we associate sacrifice with giving blood? Why do you associate sacrifice with giving blood? Okay, Jesus. Good. So if you have a Christian faith, when you think about giving blood, your mind probably jumps to Jesus, who gave himself on the cross, bled, and died for us. Okay, so sacrifice of Jesus. Where else do we think of giving blood as sacrifice? Especially in regards to Americans. We take a lot of pride in.
But I was gonna say, like we need the blood and we're giving it to somebody else so that they can be better.
Yes. So it's a sacrificial thing for the betterment of someone else. Good. We think of giving blood as a sacrifice we're making to benefit someone else. What else do we have a strong association of giving blood with, Sam?
Like our military.
Good. Our military soldiers. Good. So the audience may think of sacrificial blood as the blood shed by soldiers, the blood shed by Jesus, the blood that people donate when they do a blood drive. And in this context, we might think of the blood shed by who gave themselves in this situation. Yes. Good. And what kind of people were they? Firefighters, passengers on the plane. Todd Beamer. Good. Todd Beamer. Eliza. Police. Yeah. EMC's police. Good. So that phrase, what does that phrase suggest to us? What do we associate giving blood with? You said it multiple times. We associate it with what? Helping people sacrificially. Good. So we associate the giving of blood with selflessness and sacrifice to help others. Good. So write that down where in the box that says appeal. So associations, we wrote all the things we associate with giving blood. Blood drives, Jesus giving his blood, soldiers giving their blood, In this context, the firefighters and the policemen who gave their blood. And then in appeals, you're going to write the phrase suggests strong sacrifice. And it creates an emotional appeal because, what's the emotional appeal right now? What emotion do you feel when you think about that blood given? Yes. Sadness on one hand. Let's think about what positive emotion does that make you feel? Yes.
Like proud because.
Good. It definitely conjures up feelings of pride because we live in a country where our military is willing to die for the sake of the United States. Good. Lexi? Courage. Good. Yes. Admiration. Good. Admiration. Cameron?
Being helpful.
Okay.
I mean, hopeful.
Hopeful. Okay. It conjures up hope in you. Trevor? Respect. Good. All of those work. So somewhere in that box, tell me that you associate with that phrase giving blood. We associate it with sacrifice or selflessness, and it conjures up in us emotions like pride, hope, comfort. Any of those? Okay. So we did that one together, but if you flip, you'll see there's one more box. So it says, find another phrase in the speech that creates an emotional appeal. And find another phrase in the speech that creates emotional appeal. Put that in the first box. Describe what you associate with that phrase in the middle box. And then analyze it, the effect of that appeal in the third box. So what do we associate with it? Why do we associate that? And then what emotion is evoked in you through that appeal? If you are stuck and need one, I'll write in a couple suggestions on the board for what you can analyze, but if you want to just find one on your own and roll with it, that's great too. So I'm going to give you I want you to do it thoroughly, so I'll give you 6 minutes and then we'll move on to the next part. Oh, sure. I don't want to erase that because I need it later. Can you see it if I put them up again? 9/11 happened, we flew our flags at half mast. Good. So what feelings of a American flag unfurled? What feelings does that evoke in you, Emily? If you feel united, perfect. Morgan. Freedom. Okay. It reminds you of your freedom. Corbin.
I mean, I'm thinking a situation like that, hope that, we're going to keep on fighting and, not just stand down.
Okay. Hope, courage. Yes. Pride. It makes you feel proud to live in the country that you do. Really good. Okay. Saying of prayers. What do we associate prayers with? Yes. Church. We associate prayers with church. Laisha? Good. We pray when someone's struggling. Sometimes we say, I'll pray for you. So we associate it with attempting to comfort others. Eliza. Say it again. Hope or guidance. Good. So those are some of the feelings it evokes in you. What else does prayer evoke in you? It evokes hope in you. It evokes Morgan. Love. Good. Adrian, what'd you say? Comfort. Good. When you think about prayers, it should evoke feelings of comfort in you. Good. Okay. Does that make sense? Are we seeing how he used the strong connotative language to evoke feelings and emotions in us? Okay. And he's doing that. Why? Because he wants to comfort a shocked and grieving nation. Fantastic. Okay, you need out on your desk a sheet of notebook paper. Set that aside, but keep it out. You do need it out. Okay. Stay calm. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's a big one.
Oh, that's so
No, it's so fine. I will take care of it and we're done. Okay, here's what I want you to do on your sheet of notebook paper. I thought about this and I want this to be more of a journal, like you thinking through this and just sharing your thoughts, expressing your thoughts. So I'm not going to require that you put it in a 3.8 paragraph. We're going to write it more like a journal prompt, but I do want you to write a paragraph, so a minimum of 6 sentences. I want you to write a paragraph explaining how former President George W. Bush uses one of the appeals. I'm not going to tell you which one you should write about. What? Yes. I'm not going to tell you which appeal you should write about. Your options are logos, pathos, or ethos. But you should write about the one that you feel is most dominant. And I'm hoping you know now which one's most dominant. So explain how he uses one of the appeals, logos, pathos, or ethos, to achieve his purpose. So if you're going to talk about how he achieves his purpose, you should talk about his purpose in your paragraph. I want you to include textual evidence to show how the speaker created the appeal, and I want you to discuss why that particular appeal was used, why it was appropriate. You can talk about, well, I want to give you more freedom than that. Okay, so use that as a guideline, but write it like a journal prompt, so don't get caught up in the structure, but just express your thoughts on all of those questions. Voice level 0, I'm going to set a timer for about 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and I want you to write for the full 6 minutes. I do want you to write for the full 6 minutes. If you run out of things to talk about with just one of the appeals and you already have 6 sentences, you can then move on and start talking about one of the other appeals. Just elaborate, okay? Zero prompt. Okay, voice level 0, 6 minutes. I promise it's okay. Make sure your name's on the top because that is your extra slip and I am going to take it up. Yes. on why that kind of appeal was most appropriate with context. So if you're saying that he used pathos, why was pathos better to use in this context than logos? Tie it back to his purpose.
Which one?
gray box on the front page, and it talks about the methods one can use to create an emotional appeal. You can talk about those methods. What methods does he use? How effectively does he use those methods? Words with positive connotation. I want to see what you can do independently, but if you're totally stuck, raise your hand. Lost. Okay, take about 1 more minute. You can wrap up your sentence or your thought. Okay, I'm going to have you hand that to me on your way out the door, so make sure your name is on top. Tomorrow, this is what we're going to do. So this one, I guided you heavily through it because it was our first go-around at analyzing appeals. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the other 2 speeches. Half of you will do the ethical appeal, the speech that includes ethical appeals. Half of you will do the speech that includes the logical appeals, and then we'll analyze and then share out with each other. Okay, so this side of the room will tell this side of the room how one of the speech included logical, and vice versa. So we'll see if we can do some of that analysis more independently. Okay. And then next week we're going to compare the written versions of those to some of the audio versions of those, and we're also going to read Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech and analyze his use of appeals in that speech, as well as his figurative language and things like that. But we're going to continue looking at appeals so that we can analyze persuasive writing and arguments, so that you know how to independently analyze those when you go to high school and you have to write argument papers. And then again, when you graduate college and you're out in the real world, we talked about how you need that skill, the ability to analyze arguments every day. We're bombarded with arguments through advertisements and political speeches and issues, so you need to know how to independently analyze arguments. So we're going to focus on that heavily the next couple weeks. Yes, sir?
We get to see where we want.
You keep this, so you keep the finding appeals and contemporary speeches. You do need that tomorrow. I'm going to take just your exit slip on the way out. Any questions? Needs, thoughts, concerns? Okay. Make sure your name's on the top, and then you may go just hand it to me on your way out.
We have to give this to
You know,